Hello, Ethereum helpline. What's that? Yuga Labs, the other side. Oh, yeah. You didn't have enough gas? Okay, you don't understand how Ethereum works. Right. Can I help? No, you're on your own. Sorry, bye, good luck. So, the Yuga Labs Otherside sale took place this weekend, and if you hadn't noticed, it was basically like eating Granny's old fruitcake. It basically clogged up Ethereum so badly that the entire network had to stop and wait for the insanity to end before it could resume doing all the other important business it had to do. What happened, who got mad, and what happens next? That is today's Quick Take, and boy, were some people so mad. All the details coming up. Earn up to 30% APR on your stablecoins with USDB. USDB is a decentralized algorithmic stablecoin that bridges the world of DeFi and TradFi. USDB operates through an innovative proof-of-burn mechanism backed by protocol-owned liquidity. So here's how you can get involved. Contribute to the bonding mechanism and earn up to 30% APR. Or become a single-sided staker and earn 20% APR with no lockups and no worries about impermanent loss. USDB is available on Phantom, Avalanche, Ethereum, Polygon, and BSC. To benefit from early yields and extra incentives, head over to usdbalance.com. So you're sick of this guy, you're sick of the apes, you're bored of the entire thing. Well, I think a lot of people are. But this has been the biggest story in town the last 2 weeks, accused of sucking the liquidity out of both regular crypto and the NFT markets. In fact, this is probably the first time that has ever happened. Regular crypto heads tend to look down their noses at NFT degenerates as the very worst of this space, and their worlds have rarely crossed paths. But here, we had a charging native coin attached to a hellaciously successful NFT project, ripping hard-won gains from a market both on the crypto side and on the NFT side that had already been pummeled by a protracted bearish phase if you're in crypto coins or altcoins, stretching all the way back to early November last year. For anyone who lived through the ICO craziness of 2017, the setup on this looked very familiar. Massive hype, limited availability, KYC, and very little information about what anyone was actually buying. And yes, that's right, nobody knew what it was that they were actually buying. Well, they knew what it was called. It was called an other deed. But what that was, what it would involve, and what they could do with it, no clue. You just needed a KYC'd wallet and 305 ape per other deed, which really was quite a lot of money. And that would be enough to secure the opportunity to mint. If only it were that simple. KYC'd wallets were doing brisk business, going for upwards of an ETH on the black market. Sending funds to a wallet where somebody else knows the private key, well, that sounds like a smart idea to me. But still, the FOMO was so potent, damn the risks. Am I right? Shortly before the sales start time, the website changed, and we were treated to an early insight into what these other deeds actually were.
With an other deed, you can participate in prototype builds, demos, and tests that shape the final game design and experience. Building the future is a team effort, and we want you to be part of our team.
So other deeds are basically a ticket to be a beta tester. Bravo! Super! Pew pew! I want to do that. So look, I doubt anyone bothered to read that because they were too focused on the sale, which is pure entertainment. And if you watched the video we released on Friday, I said this would be for rich kids only, and so it turned out, because 305 ape and a wallet was most definitely not enough. The sale opened at 9 p.m. Eastern, and the moment it did, all hell broke loose. 55,000 NFTs were minted at 305 ape each, which means each other deed cost about $5,800 given ApeCoin's price, which is approximately $19 at the time of mint. But Ape had been as high as $25 in the days leading up to the sale, so they banked around $390 million in Ape, but that is now worth less as the price of Ape continued to drop post-sale, so more like $285 million when I first started writing this script. But since then, the price has dropped even further. The whole thing is going into the toilet. Well, not really. Yuga scrapped the Dutch auction model because, as they said, it was bullshit. But this, as it turns out, was ape shit. This decision was taken, they said, to mitigate a gas war of historically high proportions. Now, in their Mirror article, they mentioned the need to mitigate gas 3 times in as many paragraphs. But did they? Well, take a look at this. In a word, no. Not even slightly. That huge priapic forcing upwards, well, that was the gas for the sale. So great was the demand for mints that some were pushing as much as 3 ETH in gas alone. 3 ETH. 3 fucking ETH to ensure they made the cut. Worse still, this meant anyone attempting to do anything on the Ethereum network anywhere in the world would be subject to the same crippling gas penalty, no matter what they were doing. And those trying to snipe paper hand sales on OpenSea met the same fate. And this left a lot of people feeling very, 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 very angry indeed. So let's dig in. Alrighty, so let's just get down to the nitty gritty here. This is watchtheburn.com. This gives you insights into the Ethereum burn. And look at the spike on this. Absolutely ridiculous. That was the 1st of May. And if we look at the burn per day statistic on that candle there, 71,717 ETH just through this one sale. Dingaling on Twitter says, really just painful to watch. Realistically, this is just a transfer of wealth from non-Yuga NFTs that got dumped the past few weeks to ETH miners, question mark. Well, no, a lot of it got burned. So the miners, yes, in the old days, they would have been the ones to benefit from all of that activity. But here, this is like moving house and then setting all your possessions on fire. Because what has happened is a lot of people have sold their NFTs, they've sold their crypto to acquire ApeCoin in order to participate in this sale. They weren't able to, or at least they might have failed a transaction. They would have burned a ton of ETH in the process, and that ETH is gone. It's gone. That money would normally have recycled back into the market in some way. That's generally the way it works, but here it's just gone. So all that liquidity that was sitting there and able to be used in other projects, gone. Now, this is fairly Darwinian. This is the way these things work, but I think a lot of people don't really understand that if you want to participate in a hyped sale, you need to have a buffer of gas in ETH to pay for it. That's just the way this game works. And nowhere, particularly not from the other side themselves, not from Yuga, was this ever communicated. Yuga is guilty here of not following through on what they said they would, which was to mitigate gas. The whole spiel, Dutch auctions are bullshit, was about being smarter and knowing what gas would be like ahead of time. They didn't. And that is why we get this. Buddy Lee says, after the shit show last night, I got stuck with all that ape I sold for a big loss. I hope it crashes. Yes, classic crypto, fudding your own bags. Why do people do that? Stim Geek says, how is ape going to be an important asset? So far, all I see is a bunch of big ETH holders spending that and posting their land for ETH. Ape isn't anywhere in sight. Please give us some info on why I should hold. I want to believe in the project, but right now it feels like, nah. Well, here's the thing. OpenSea posted this on the day of the sale. Other deeds for Otherside are here. Buy them today with Ape or ETH. So there's a big fuss made about how you could pay for these assets in ApeCoin itself. And then a lot of NFT projects jumped on the bandwagon and said, oh, you can buy with Ape as well, rendering all of their own native tokens valueless in one fell swoop. No, not entirely, but just jumping on a bandwagon. What else do we have here? I am Shannon says, I am super disappointed in the Yuga Labs drop last night. I KYC'd my wallet. I liquidated my son's college fund to have enough ape to buy 2 plots of land. I was there ready to go, but the average Joe can't compete with the big boys. I have no interest in Yuga Labs now. Okay. Rule Black says, you guys failed to live up to all the things you said and promised. People minted more than 2, either allowed a mint of more than 2 or your contract was exploited to allow a mint more than 2. Either way, it's a failure of a promise to those who KYC'd. Make it right. And so on and so forth. So now we have more of the same. NFT Anaconda says, what's wrong with you? Why don't you make an announcement like all who would trade an ape on OpenSea will get a drop? Oh dear. And the Great Mando says you're going to see some of the highest volumes in NFT history now. Lots of undervalued projects gonna rip. I'm not sure that's necessarily true. The health of the overall market is not looking so great right now. And I think people are going to be gun shy, to be honest with you. Macrodo says, I just smashed my TV in front of 30 guests at my party because of Otherside Mint. My wife just took her crying kids and said they're all spending the week at a hotel. Goodbye, BAYC. I'm no longer a fan. And NFT Statistics has this. While this round had 100,000 Otherside plots, the plan is to have 200,000 plots. It's very hard to wrap my head around this amount of supply. So many questions, so much outrage, so many things that people were pissed off about and pointing the fingers about. But for those of us who've been around a little bit longer, we kind of knew that this is what it would happen. It didn't take a rocket scientist to realize that Ape would necessarily dump before the sale actually happened, as the demand for it dropped away. It's, buy the rumor, sell the news, all that kind of stuff. This is normal. And then Mekalumi here, Value Mancer, wrote a long thread on the opposite view of this, which is why, in fact, what happened during this sale was a kind of weird price discovery where it was all moved from secondary to the primary sale itself, and the price of the gas was effectively a premium that you would have paid on OpenSea anyway. So all you were doing is paying it in early rather than later. I think what pissed people off a lot was the fact that they were told the parameters with which they could participate in the sale, and then suddenly discovered that they would need 3 ETH or 2.5 ETH, and that was way too much for some to stomach, or even to get together, particularly those who had scraped together 305 just to buy one other deed. And so there was a lot of hypocrisy from Yuga here, just in the way that they phrased the initial tweets, which I get. Let's take a look at ApeCoin. What did ApeCoin do after this? Well, that's the 24 hours. 7 days is more insightful. So, here we are at this peak of near enough $26. People who bought there got really wrecked. And it dropped down here and they went, way back up here in one fell swoop. And now, post-sale, boom, down it goes. Who knows where it will find a bottom? And it's not really that important, to be honest with you, because Ape is going to be the primary, in fact, the only currency within the other side. So if you're making a bet on the other side and you're going to get a chance to buy cheap Ape, then you'll probably be licking your lips right now because you want to participate, and that all looks great. So people were delivered these other deeds. 100,000 of them went out, and pre-reveal, I believe they went up as high as like 7.5 ETH. And so effectively what people were buying was a lottery ticket. They wanted to buy these coders, and they were hoping that one of these other deeds would have one. 100,000 plots, 10,000 coders, you had a 1 in 10 chance. Not terrible odds, but I know plenty of people who had a lot of other deeds and get a single one. It was genuinely random and genuinely fair, and it's just the way the cookie crumbles. Some people got them, some people didn't. And then when the grand reveal happened, the price of another deed dropped to where it is now, which is 4.35 ETH. So what do they look like? Well, it's this, basically. And try and wrap your head around 100,000 other deeds, all the artwork that needs to be created for them, and all the different traits and properties that need to be created there as well. So you have a category, there's Eastern resources, Western resources, Southern resources, and Northern resources, there's environments, and then there's sediments as well. And the thinking is that you're going to be able to mine these resources and then trade them on a marketplace which doesn't exist yet in a game that doesn't exist yet. So what about the coders themselves? So let's have a look. Down here, we can see has coder is a button we can flip on to true, 9,471 of them. And if you're wondering why there's not 10,000, it's because a lot of people haven't claimed their other deeds yet. So mutants and bored apes could claim for free, gas, of course, and there might well be coders sitting on those lands. Here is a piece of land with a coder on it. We can click through, and there is the coder. Nobody knows what they do yet, but those are sitting there. And assets with a coder on them are now looking at around, what's the floor on this? 27 ETH. So if you were lucky enough to get a coder, you would have been able to sell for around 27. It was 30 earlier in the day. But the thinking is that these coders are going to be highly sought after and very, very useful. And if you think about how many of them there are compared to how much land there is, then they're very highly sought after and people have been trading them quite heavily. Other interesting things, some of the artifacts that you can pick up. So this is an artifact which has a jar of coder farts on it. If you've been into the Otherside Discord channel, there is a channel specifically dedicated to coder farts. I have no idea what they do. I just thought it was funny that such an asset would appear. Here is a jar of coder farts. Isn't that delightful? The whole mutant aesthetic is kind of slimy and weird and this kind of thing. So anyway, the next thing we need to look at is this new website, Enter the Otherside. So the next thing we need to do is look at the new website, because there's quite a lot of information here that wasn't available before. There's the trailer. enter the Otherside. So here's the spiel. Otherside is a gamified, interoperable metaverse currently under development. The game blends mechanics from massively multiplayer online role-playing games and Web3-enabled virtual worlds. Think of it as a meta RPG where the players own the world, your NFTs can become playable characters, and thousands can play together in real time. That last bit, thousands can play together in real time, that for me is really the secret sauce of the Otherside. So we already talked about that bit. Here's the interesting bit, interoperable. So what do they say about interoperability? Bring your own character, Otherside is for everyone. Now, as we talked about in our Friday film, there's an SDK. And what they say here is they're going to launch with Bored Apes, Mutants, the Doggies, and CryptoPunks. They will be provided with Otherside-ready 3D models of their NFTs at game launch, available as playable characters. Now, it's not clear whether these will be NFTs in their own right. And it's not clear whether the ownership rights of that playable character will transfer if you transfer your Bored Ape or your Meebit out. Meebits are coming too and will be provided with any updates required to make them adventure ready in Otherside. But for everyone else, you'll be able to import and create your own characters via the SDK. And they make it sound so simple. And I wonder if it will be. If you like building your own stuff, you can do that for too. So the SDK, there is a sign-up form up here, and you'll be able to sell them in the game's marketplace. You'll also be able to build other things in that SDK as well. So you can see here that they're trying to create a creator economy and a secondary economy for people to be entrepreneurs within the Otherside. That makes sense. Creation comes with perks, get first dibs on the SDK. So those perks will almost certainly be grants in ApeCoin to go build stuff. I can't imagine they wouldn't be doing anything else. There's a lot of Ape sitting on the sidelines waiting to be deployed in this way. So they'll be looking for creators to come in and flesh out this first phase of the Otherside. They need a vibrant secondary ecosystem. They can't build it all themselves. And of course, the coin for your voyage. Otherside doesn't take cash, credit, or checks. The economy here runs on ApeCoin. Should you aim to purchase an item in Otherside, it's Ape that you'll need. So, like I said, if this is a game that you think is going to be something, and you're seeing a cheap Ape, then it's probably a time to start loading up on Ape. But now we get to the really interesting bit, game-changing tech. This is where they say Otherside is where the impossible happens. With the power of Improbable's M2 technology, 10,000 plus players will be able to interact simultaneously in a single place and connect with natural voice chat, even in the crowds of thousands. Experience rich, immersive gameplay supported by AI and physics and move between metaverses. So online games and massively multiplayer online games are a networking nightmare. You need technology that can support lots of people doing lots of things simultaneously, like real life. And that is, in fact, incredibly difficult. So typical online worlds, they say, can handle around 10,000 operations per second, but the Otherside will be able to handle more than 500 million operations per second. So we've got some interesting things here. 10,000 plus players. Okay, sure. Speak up together. In-world natural voice chat. Now, you can already do this in VR chat and Insomnium as well. You've got Physics X AI. Not entirely sure what this is going to be, but millions of complex interactive entities in a single world supported with physics and AI. So the NPC element of this is going to be a big deal. What will those NPCs be able to do? How can you load up your NFT with an AI brain so it can be an NPC and deliver content or interact with people without you necessarily needing to be awake? If you've seen ASM Brains, that's what they're building as well. The whole Fluff ecosystem is about that as well. Next level social, incredible live interaction between players. Who knows what that means? I'm sure we'll figure it out. And if we'll see a Twitter of the metaverse, this is what they're looking to buy. The thing that jumped out when I looked at the initial rebrand of the website was this down here, Improbable. This is Improbable. It's a British metaverse technology company. They've been providing networking services to major games publishers for about 10 years now. And they recently pivoted quite heavily towards the metaverse. They announced a $150 million raise to establish M Squared, which is a metaverse network and ecosystem powered by Morpheus technology. This is the technology that will be powering online multiplayer in the Otherside. And it's interesting that Yuga has partnered with them. but also very surprising when you realize that the round was led by Andreessen Horowitz, and who led the round in Yuga Labs? Oh, that's right, Andreessen Horowitz. Synergy, right? So SoftBank is also an investor here. Big money, making big bets on some serious like metaverse tech. You can start to see where the picks and shovels play comes here. This is a platform. One other thing we can look at here is the Explore. So here we get a map, which we can actually interact with. All these dots on this map represent parcels of land. So this inner island here is very highly sought after. And what happened here was the lowest numbered assets were the ones that were placed here. So the higher the number of your assets, well, bad luck for you. You got pushed further out. Now, that may not necessarily be a bad thing. If there's a great economic center close to where your parcel of land is, then great. But also bear in mind that these parcels of land will be able to do things. They will be able to generate resources and be mined. And that's pretty interesting. And one of the other things that stands out from this whole experience is that this will be very much an active ownership experience. So you could just sit there and hodl the land, but I think what Yuga is expecting people to do is really work their land and cultivate it and build relationships, presumably with their neighbors, to work together, but also, actively trade in the market. So they get all those secondary economics happening as well. But the land is not just a passive item. It will be active. You will be able to trade out your coders. You'll be able to trade out your artifacts if you want to. The whole thing will be led and very interesting that way. What else can I show you? This was back in 23rd of September 2021. Can Improbable get its metaverse ambitions back on track with this stealth project? That was the launch of M Squared. But basically, the whole goal of M Squared is to take this massively scaled up world and make it actually function in real time, handling, millions of people all on there at the same time. You just look how big it is. This is all the land that's been issued so far. It just goes all the way out to here, and you can click on these items and still get the information up. This is 97,099. It's a sludge world. So yeah, there's a huge amount to explore here. And that really, if you imagine this actually being used at scale, it's going to be a fairly meaty proposition. So really, that's pretty much as far as it goes for me. The big takeouts are coders are rare and coders are sought after. They're holding their value. It's going to be a world in which you are rewarded for being a creator, for cultivating. And thirdly, one other thing that I thought was particularly interesting here. Let me dig it up. So the last little piece of information that sort of stands out here, Yuga Labs posted a thread about them in. Obviously, everyone was pissed off, and they were getting a ton of material and naughty messages. Basically, just this is them dealing with it. And they said that the hope that was that these challenges would be assuaged by a rigorous gating mechanism. Blah 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 blah. This has been the largest NFT mint in history by several multiples, and yet the gas used during the mint shows that demand far exceeded anyone's wildest expectations. We're sorry for turning off the lights on Ethereum for a while. It seems abundantly clear that ApeCoin will need to migrate to its own chain in order to properly scale. So, it's not like this is new to anyone. When I actually built Ronin, is because it was just not possible to run a game of that scale on Ethereum. People have been known this for like 6 years already. So, are we going to see an ape chain? I think it's highly likely that they will then build some kind of system to move, the considerable size of transactions off chain. The question is why do they even say that? Isn't it obvious? If you're building a world of this scale and you need this many users simultaneously and you want them to interact with the coin that is your primary economic mechanism, Ethereum is not the network for that. So that was a bit of a strange one. Clearly, they haven't thought it all through. And if you gamed this out, you've just talked to a few people about this, it would have been pretty obvious that that was what was going on. One last thing that I spotted as well. This young kid, Reshad, who posted a thread on how he turned $0 into excess of 70 million USD over the past 1.5 years with NFTs at the age of 15. Whether they are 15 or not doesn't really matter, but how they did it was they basically bought a bunch of KYC wallets and then ran scripts to push gas and then accumulated a ton of other deeds and made an absolute fortune in the process. I saw screenshots of some people literally with walls of screens just mining the crap out of this drop. It was highly weaponized. It was highly mechanized. And if you saw people posting lists of how many KYC wallets there were and how much ape they had in them, that all added fuel to the fire. So in the future, if you don't want these drops to be oversubscribed and oversold out, just shut up and stop talking about them. So that's it for today. This was a quick take that really wasn't quick at all, but this is such a big story. It deserved the time. Now, we'll be covering all sorts of more interesting things that aren't Bored Ape related for the rest of the week. But for now, consider my brain mushed and smashed into 1 million pieces, or at least 100,000 of them anyway. They went big here and they broke Ethereum. Who knew? Peace!